Welcome to BBCON. Thank you for joining today's session. My name is Tammy Bauer, and you're in the Unlock AP Automation and Payments with NXT by PairSoft. My name is Tammy Bauer, and I'm Senior Sales Solution Consultant here at PairSoft. And that's a mouthful, but really that just means I've been around for a long time. I've actually been representing the PaperSave brand for 16 years. And prior to that, I used to work for Blackbaud and I sold the Razor's Edge and Financial Edge. And prior to that, I was an accounts payable admin. So I'm hopeful today in our 30 minutes that I'm going to be able to share with you some really important reasons why you should be automating your invoice process and your payment process. This is the agenda we're going to go through today. You're going to learn a little bit about PairSoft and what we offer. I'm going to go through the challenges that you all face every single day. Then I'm going to show you how PaperSave by PairSoft and the PairSoft Pay solution can help solve those challenges. And then we're going to talk about next steps. So first about PairSoft. PairSoft is actually a procurement to pay solution. And what I mean by that is if you need requisitions and procurement because you're going to be doing purchase orders and you want to have that encumbrance up front, we can handle that. We also can handle supplier maintenance or management, AP invoice automation, transaction automation, the automation of your payments, and then we can also do document management. And at the end of the day, at your fingertips are going to be those key performance indicators and benchmarks to help you see where you are doing well, where you might need improvement, or where the bottlenecks are in your process. Today, we're actually going to focus on a very small portion of what we offer, but it's the invoice to pay automation piece. And with that, we're going to give you a single platform that's seamlessly integrated with your NXT program, and it's going to automate that whole process from the invoices arriving, the coding, the approval, getting ready for payment, and then the payment execution. And we're going to walk through that today, but before we do, let's talk about the inefficiencies and the challenges that you guys are all facing today. Again, being a former accounts payable admin, I know what the manual process is. And when we talk about inefficiencies, we are certainly not talking about the individuals. I'd have to say that in the accounting world, the most efficient people are the accounts payable admin, right? Because they're having to do so many things in a manual process. When you think about that, what you do, you're manually getting those invoices, whether they're coming to you via email, you're manually filtering through that email inbox, or they're coming via mail, you're manually opening up those envelopes, and then you're routing them. You might be attaching them to an email and sending them out via email. You might be doing it through folders or SharePoint, or I've heard some people use DocuSign to get invoices approved, but it's still a pretty manual process, right? And then when you get those invoices back, you have to manually key the data into Financial Edge NXT for the processing, right? To get that data in there. And then you have to file that invoice. When it comes to payment, you're printing out those, maybe it's a payment journal batch payment journal. Maybe you're actually printing the checks, you're attaching those paper invoices to that process, right? And then you're sending them to that person for signature or for saying it's okay to pay. If they don't want to pay something, you got to manually void it. And then at the end, you're manually filing that data all back. The inefficiencies can create almost 4% higher cost in processing just an invoice, right? One invoices. And what is that cost? On average, it costs you more, around $10 to process just a single invoice. So I don't know how many invoices those of you who are on the line process in a month, but do that math. That is an overhead that's costing your organization money, time and money. And again, it's not because the team is inefficient, the process in which these invoices are being handled is inefficient. 81%, and this number, I was staggered by this number, this percentage, but 80%, 81% of United States companies are still paying their invoices by check. That's crazy. When you think about on a personal level, when was the last time you actually wrote a check? You know, when you order your Uber car and you're standing at the curb at the airport, you're not paying them with a checkbook. Or when you're shopping at Target or Amazon online, you're not paying them with a checkbook. It's all electronic. Or, you know, when you need to send somebody money, again, you're not writing a check and sending it in the mail. You're either doing it through Venmo or PayPal or some other way through your bank. But 81%. And those 81%, and you might be part of that group, every check that you write is costing anywhere between $6 to $20. Now, there's kind of a wide range in that because that $20 cost might be for that check that was lost, never cashed, so you have to reissue it and void it or whatever it might be. But between $6 to $20. So now add that to the $10 to process the invoice to get it ready for payment. Think about that. Worst case scenario, it's costing you $30. Best case scenario, it's costing $16. Still far more than what it should cost to process that invoice from the moment it enters in your organization's door to the moment it's paid. Should be very, very much less than that. If that's the right term to use, you need more efficiency, right? This is a visual of really the managed chaos that accounting is doing on a daily basis, right? You've got vendor inquiries. You're trying to track down approvers. You've got a manual match to a PO if you're doing that. You're handling discrepancies. You're writing checks. You're creating the transactions. You're answering inquiries from not just vendors, but internal people. You're doing research. And then when those auditors come in, you're having to pull all of those invoices, finding the attachments, putting in a filing cabinet. I mean, just look at that. That's what you all do or your team members do on a daily basis. It's all manual. There are obviously risks for errors, right? We're all human. We all make errors. And it's very difficult to handle those exceptions to any process. And then when it all boils down to it, when you're paying invoices by check, the risk of fraud is great. And we've got some other data that we can share with you, some more statistics about the percentage of fraud and how it goes down when you're paying, you know, from a check to a wire to ACH to V cards, right? So we can do all of that and lower that risk for you, lowering the cost that it takes for you to process your invoices. So what if a solution like PaperSave by PairSoft could decrease the approval time by 70%, spend less than 90% of the time searching for documents, right? On average, it takes 6 to find a document when it's in a paper environment or just out on the network drive or in a filing cabinet. It takes a lot of time to find that document. What if we can save $62,000 in employee time per year? And that doesn't mean we're getting rid of employees. That means we're taking away some of those menial tasks that take up so much time in a day's base, in a time of an employee, that they could be spending additional time doing other things that are more important, like investigating vendors who might offer early pay or working out deals with vendors and suppliers who might be able to supply you with your goods and services at a lower cost. Right now, you don't have time to do that, but it will free up time for you to do that. And then at the end of the day, we're going to lower and reduce those payment costs by 50%. So what if we could do that? You can take back control of your processes, right? We're going to do automated capture. We're going to streamline that matching again if you do your POs. We're going to send all of those documents electronically through an approval process, giving you insight as to where they are at any given time. You're going to be able to manage those payments when you want things paid and submit it. And then at the end, you're going to get analytics. Like I said before, you're going to be able to see where you're doing really well and your process is functioning like it should, or maybe where you can improve and streamline a process even more. Again, taking back that control of that process in a non-manic way, right? In a streamlined way. So let's see how PairSoft can get all of that done. I'm going to change my screens here. We're going to switch over to this screen. You should be seeing my home page of PaperSave. Now, PaperSave, just like FENXT, is a cloud-based application. It's very secure. We've got tight security throughout the system. I want you to know that I am an admin in my system, so I get to see and do everything, right? Which is a good thing. Accounting is going to want to do that, but there are going to be people like those approvers that really only need to see their items in their workflow. So maybe this is the only tile that they have on their desktop or their homepage of PaperSave. But we're going to kind of go through a day in the life. Now, remember, this is a 30-minute overview. I've just spent almost 11 minutes going through some of the reasons why you need to do this. So we're going to talk on high level, but we're going to be able to get down into the nitty-gritty on a one-on-one demo. All right. Also, if you have questions, this is a good time for me to point out, there is a Q&A area that you can please fill out some questions, and I'll be answering them throughout this presentation. All right, so let's start by capturing the documents. Typically, what we find is that organizations are receiving their invoices electronically. In fact, about between 70 to 85% of all organizations are receiving 75 to 80% of their invoices electronically, but they're having to print them out to get the approval process. Well, guess what? PaperSave can monitor an email address. So, and it's your email address. So I'm just going to simulate what's happening, and I'm going to send an email to a folder out on my network in my area that is being monitored. So here, this is the invoice I just sent. So let's say that Rally Productions has sent you this invoice, right? You've got an AP inbox that you told PaperSave to monitor. We're going to check it periodically throughout the day, as frequently as you want. Mine looks about every 30 to 45 seconds. We're going to take the attachment and drop it into the very first step of the workflow. So guess what? Nobody has to man that email address. PaperSave is going to man it for you. When we find that attachment, we actually move it over to a process folder so that you know that PaperSave has looked to it or looked at it and brought the document in. So again, I thought maybe I was talking long enough to get that over there, but it'll come over and we'll see it. All right. Now you can also scan paper because there are still that small percentage that is coming via paper. If your multifunction unit, that network, printer, photocopier, fax machine, scanner, scans to an email address, well, then you're going to open up the mail, walk over to that scanner, drop the paper in, and email those invoices to that same email address that you've set PaperSave up to monitor. Now, there's other capture methods, drag and drop. You can have a scanner hooked up to your workstation. We're not going to go into that today, but we can do that in a demo. So every day, accounting comes in, twice a day, however often they want to, they can go into their workflow, and it's going to take them right to their very first step of the process. Now, as I mentioned, workflows are the electronic process of routing a document through the approval and review step all the way to the submission to pay. All right. Now, workflows are customer defined. We've got great out of the box workflows that a lot of our customers have been able to just right away get up and running and process through. My first step of my workflow is AP validation. This is really the step where accounting comes in. All of the invoices end up here. You can see that data entry has already been done. We fill in the vendor name. We validate that against your vendors in NXT. We pull in the invoice date, invoice amount, and the invoice number. Now, we also check for duplicates. And because I do this over and over and over again, I'm just going to add a few digits at the end of my invoice so that it won't be flagged by FENXT as a duplicate or PaperSave, because we're going to be checking that. We also can pull in any default GL distribution. Now, if you want to look this up, you can. If you don't know the GL, you can type in a word and PaperSave will pull up. These are actually from your account structure inside of FENXT. I can distribute this across multiple account numbers. It's just not one and done. And then I'm going to route it to the person I want to approve. All right. I can pick that person. I can pick multiple people, but I'm going to hit route to. It's going to leave my AP validation and go to the step that's called for approval. And I get the next one in the stack. And again, it's filled in all of this information, eliminating that manual data entry. So we've eliminated the manual filtering through the AP inbox. We've eliminated the manual data entry. We've eliminated sending invoices to individuals simply by clicking on this route. All right. So that is the process of getting the documents in and routing them to the appropriate person. All right. So now accounts payable, my inbox is done. I can go and do other things that I haven't had time to do previously. Again, I'm an admin, so I'm going to filter, and my next step in my process is that review step. And so really I'm playing Luann. Luann would get an email, and I'll show you what that looks like real quick. She would get an email. I don't always have the right email addresses for the right people, but she would get an email letting her know she's got documents to approve. This email can come out as frequently as you want. Accounting never has to be that person who's constantly reminding people. Our system is going to do that, and they will get this email when they are ready to approve. They click, if they're sitting at their desk, they click on this web hyperlink, and it's going to take them right to their group of documents. It's single sign-on. They don't have to remember that. They type it in once, and when they turn on their computer, and PaperSave knows who they are. Now, for those people who don't work from their office, they're out and about, and they've got their mobile app or their mobile device. PaperSave has a mobile app that's going to allow them to open up. Now they can, if they're viewing this email from their mobile phone, they can tap on this hyperlink and the app will open. Or just like if you're going to buy something from Amazon, you go to the app on the phone, you tap on it and it opens. PaperSave's app works exactly the same way. And they're going to be able to do the same thing. But we're going to work from here and we're going to open up this Dell. One of the things I want you to see is that PaperSave starts building that audit trail. Where was this document prior to arriving in Luann's in PaperSave workflow inbox? Now, again, I'm an admin, so I get to see everything, but you can limit what Luann can see over here. If you want her to put in the email or the account number, she can. But really, all she has to do is hit approve or reject. If she approves it, Luann doesn't have to worry about who gets it after her. The rules and the workflow can route that. So think about right now what happens. If you've got thresholds for people or a company-wide threshold, an invoice comes in, you manually send it out to somebody. Again, let's say it's email as an attachment, right? They send you back an email saying that they approve it. Well, you look at the invoice and go, oh, well, it's over the company threshold. I have to send it out to my VP of finance. Well, now you've got to do another email, attach it and send it off and say, hey, so-and-so approved it, but it's over the dollar amount. You've got to approve it. And it comes back. When I was in accounting, I used to call that the ping pong effect. It went out, it came back, it came out, back and forth. PaperSave's workflow is going to eliminate all of that because you're going to be able to build rules in there that says, hey, Luann can only approve a certain dollar amount. She didn't have to worry about it. She approves it. It goes to the next step. She gets approved, goes to the next step. Now, she can reject this and put a note in here as to why she's rejecting it, but I'm going to send it off to the approval. Now, I happen to know that all three of those invoices were within Luann's threshold. So if they weren't, they would have ended up in the escalation step, but they're within her threshold, which means they go to the AP review. So think about what we've done. We haven't really done anything in Financial Edge yet, right? However, we've been communicating with Financial Edge. We've identified the vendor is a correct vendor. We've filtered and got the correct GL distribution. We're also monitoring that this is not a duplicate because there isn't a transaction inside of Financial Edge that duplicates that. So really at this point, now is the time that transactions are created, right? This is that last right of refusal. If accounting doesn't want to submit this into Financial Edge to create the transaction, there could be a reject button. But I'm going to go ahead. I see that the right people approved it. I know that this jail distribution is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And again, because I forgot to put some additional characters at the end of this, I'm going to go ahead and change that here and hit submit. Now, again, if these were duplicates, I'd get a little bubble notification that says, hey, this is a duplicate. I will never be able to override the duplicate check inside Financial Edge. If I didn't change this in my system, it would go to a step called rejected by NXT because it won't override it. So I'm just going to put some numbers in there and hit submit. We're going to follow these around. Okay, so what did it do? It immediately created a transaction inside of Financial Edge. So let's go over there and let's look at the payables. All right, so we're going to go into invoices and we're going to open up a transaction here. So let's go into this. I think I did Dell, right? So let's go in here. We're going to view. It creates the transaction. I think this might be one that I've already processed, but that's okay because there is a payment on here. So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but that's okay. But PaperSave becomes part of the tiles inside of the payables transaction. So I can click on this and I can see the document. It's associated. Now, this is one that I've actually processed through the payment. So I am jumping ahead when you look at this. But let's go back out here and see if I can find one that I haven't processed through to payments yet. Let's see. Let's look at Hill. I know these might not be the ones that I processed today, but they will be, or that you'll see the ones that I processed today as well. So here is Hill, and I don't think that that's been paid yet. So we'll come out here. And this is what it looks like that it says it's been submitted, right? But it goes over to that last step of the process, which is the payment, all right? So we've created that transaction, all right? So let's go back in here. I'm now in that payment solution area, or the workflow. I'm back in the workflow. And all of those three documents have ended up in the payment review. Now, I only have a handful here, right? But you could filter by due date. You could filter by, I have due date here and they're all due on the 7th today. I could filter this list and only select a handful of them to submit for payment. You can do all of them. You can do them one at a time, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to see again, this is what I want to see has been paid. I can see that the payables transaction has been created. I can see who approved it. And now I'm going to submit all of this data over to the payment portal, PairSoft Pay, right? I'm just going to do them one at a time. So with that PairSoft Pay, there's a lot of things that we can help streamline with, right? So at that point, what's happening, that data is now going over to the PairSoft Pay portal. The payment transaction has been created inside of the ERP into a Financial Edge NXT. And now what happens? Where do you go from here? Well, I'm going to walk you through that. So there's a tile here called payment. Now, I don't have it open, but I have my password already clicked in here. And when I go into this payment, I get a dashboard. And this dashboard to me is like, I wish I had it when I was accounts payable. This is giving me my current month's total, my period total. I can drill down into this information. I can select orders. Orders are the orders to pay, the information. So those three documents, those three invoices will be over here. Now, I will tell you, this is a dummy environment. We don't pay anything. This is live portal, but the information is not being updated because we're not really paying anything. But I can filter this order and look at the orders for today. I can look at the orders for last month. I call this slicing and dicing. Maybe I want to look at a certain type of payment. And let's talk about those V cards. First, when you first get PairSoft Pay, you'll be surprised that there will be vendors that you didn't even know about that take V cards. The tool that we leverage has been doing this for many, many years. You don't know that your vendors take V cards. You might not even know that they take ACH because honestly, you don't have time to research that. But when your your suppliers are put into the system, we're going to first start pulling what's called the low-hanging fruit. We already know that Dell takes V cards from other customers of ours. So we're going to reach out to Dell and we're going to say, hey, will you take a V card from your name's organization? They're going to say, sure. So when you start processing your invoices, right now I only have 3, but as the time goes on, you're going to find more and more of your vendors are not taking checks. They're taking V cards, ACH, or wire, which quite frankly are far more secure than those checks. But I can slice and dice the information. I can also get order details coming over here. I can filter this. We're going to look at one that I'm going to show you actually the detail behind it. Shows you what it looks like when it's completed. So from here, I've got order was received. I've got that it was verified. What does that mean? That means we've verified that vendor invoice, the vendor is not a fraud. We've verified if they do want to check that that's still the check address they're receiving checks. We validate that the bank information is correct. And then we even come and mark when that payment was settled, meaning when did that vendor supplier cash the check, use the V card, or receive in their bank account those wired funds. And we can see that this was an ACH. So you can see all of that. There's also an aging, although we're going to help you with that aging as well. If there's an outstanding check, you don't have to worry about that. That's part of the payment services that we offer. We're going to do all of that for you, freeing up the time, but giving you all of this information. And then going back to Financial Edge, we're going to come back here and I'm going to go back to that one transaction. At the end of the day, let's look at Rally Productions here. I'm going to view it. The payment transaction is going to be created. Maybe we're going to be able to see this. Oh, let's go back into, let's see, did I hit view? There we go. We're going to see that the payment transaction has been created. We're going to go ahead and we're going to, or it's in this case, it's scheduled to be paid, right? We'll fill in all that other information. And then at the end, we've got this completed workflow document that allows me to see it, see when it was approved, when it was paid, and hopefully we'll see this. Here we go. System running a little slow right now, but we'll see the completed workflow history, and you'll know exactly when that document was processed for payment. Apologize, it's running a little slow here. There we go. All right. So let's go back to, we've already seen it. Let's go back to my slide deck. So are you ready for invoice and payment automation? Being able to eliminate all of that manual data entry, all of that manual filing, all of those manual checks, be able to actually with V cards participate in revenue share. I always say that, the accounting department is not a revenue generating department in an organization, but when you do a PairSoft Pay, it certainly can be. We've got organizations that really, we're paying them to use our system and we can run an ROI. So what are the next steps? Reach out to us. We'd be so happy to do a one-on-one demo, and we can be scheduled via our website, PairSoft.com, or you can email us at info@PairSoft.com. I look forward to hopefully being on a demo with you all one day and talking about the benefits of our solution. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that you've enjoyed this session, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a wonderful day.